All right, hi class, this is part 2 of our Unit 9 review, and we are on number 10. The terminal side of an angle in standard form passes through the point 9,3. Make a sketch, then find each function value. So we're going to move over 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and up 3 to make our point. And then create a triangle out of that. All right, so we've gone over 9, up 3. And we have the two legs, we're missing the hypotenuse. So to find the hypotenuse, we do 9 squared plus 3 squared, which is 81 plus 9, which is radical 90, which is 3 radical 10. I hope I did that right. Did it quick? That was pretty easy. So 3 radical 10. Okay, once again, we have a radical involved, and we have a 3, 3, 9 on the sides, and we can actually, with a different color, we can divide out a 3. 1 radical 10. If we divide out a 3, then they're all, those are going to be my ratios the numbers that I'll use for my ratios of the triangles, of the sine and all of the functions, the trig functions. It'll be a lot easier, so I won't have to simplify every single time. Still need to rationalize, but I won't have to simplify. So the sine is y over r. So y is 1, r is radical 10. I like to flip it. 1 over radical 10 flipped is radical 10, and then rationalize by multiplying by radical 10 over radical 10. So that's radical 10 over 10. For a sine, cosine is radical 10. Next one is cosine. It is x over r. So 3 over radical 10. I'm going to flip it real quick at that stage before I rationalize, make things easier. And then I need to rationalize. So multiply by radical 10 over radical 10, which leaves you with 3 radical 10 over 10. Woohoo! All right, and then tangent is y over x, so y is 1, x is 3, and then flipping it for the cotangent leaves you with 3 over 1, which is just 3. All right, next up, number 11. If cosecant theta is greater than 0, which quadrants could the terminal side of theta lie? Now, this means your sine theta is positive. Hopefully you understood that. I know I went over it in our little meet and greet. Sine theta is positive. Now, that's because the open side is facing the cosecant, so that means greater than 0, which is positive. Cosecant is 1 over the sine theta. So sine and cosine have the same sign. They have reciprocal values, but the same sign. So we're looking for where sine is positive. What I do is I like to draw myself a little quadrant plane, and then I think here is x, y. So that's a spot where the sine is positive, and therefore cosecant is positive. So I'm going to write quadrant 1, because I need where y is positive, because sine is y over r, so where y is positive. And then back here, if I go to a point here, it's going to be negative x positive y, which again, y is positive. So quadrant 2 works. It has a y over r that's positive. And remember that r is always positive. And then here I have negative x, negative y, and that would be a negative sign because I'd have a negative y over r, which is negative. Here I have x, negative y, and that would be negative over positive, which is negative. So those two quadrants, my sign is negative, whereas quadrants 1 and 2, the sign is positive. All right, so cotangent theta. Cotangent theta is greater than 0 means cotangent is positive. If cotangent theta is positive, then tangent theta would be positive. So tangent is y over x, so we need y over x, the ratio, to be positive. So if we look at right here, if there's a point here, it would be xy, x over y, or y over x is going to be positive there. So that one works. Oh, I didn't make a little mark there. Okay, so that one works. So that would be quadrant 1. Oops. I just wrote that out, sorry. And then here I would have negative xy, which would make a negative, so that one's out. Here I would have negative x, negative y. Ooh, so negative over negative makes positive, so that one works. Quadrant 3 works. And then quadrant 4, I would have x negative y, so that would not work there. So quadrants 1 and 3 are where the cotangent is positive. Okay. Then the next one, if tangent theta is less than 0 and secant theta is less than 0, which quadrants could the terminal side of theta lie? Ooh, so tangent is 0. I mean less than 0, so it's negative. Tan theta, negative. Secant theta is the same sign as cosine theta, and it needs to also be negative. So we need the tangent negative, which is y over x, and the cosine negative, which is x over r. So r is always positive. Let's look at tangent. So tangent here is positive. Tangent here is negative. So there you go. Tangent, hey. And then tangent here is positive. Tangent here is negative because y over x is negative. X is positive, y is negative. Now I'm going to do a different color because I want to know where cosine is negative. So cosine is x over r. So here, x is positive, so cosine won't be negative. Here, cosine is negative because it's negative x. R is always positive. Here, cosine is also negative. X is negative. Here, cosine is not negative, it's positive. So I tried to do negative signs in the quadrants for which each the tangent and the cosine are negative. So I'm going to actually write over, because I use green for this one. So this quadrant right here has both tangent and cosine negative, so that would be quadrant 2. All right, hopefully that works. And then tangent 135. So we just have to find these quadrants, and then we're done, or these ratios. So the exact value of each trig function, tangent 135. What I've shown you to do is to draw the angle. So this is 90 plus 45. Tie it back to the x-axis and see what angle you have right here. This angle is a 45-degree angle. So you have a 45-degree reference angle. That means you have 1, radical 2, and then put in any negatives based on the position of the triangle. In this case, I have a negative x and a positive y, and then r is always positive. So you set up your sides 1, radical 2 on your 45, 45, 90 triangle, and then you find your tangent. Note that tangent is y over x. So y is 1, x is negative 1, so our answer is negative 1. All right, cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so its sine is y over r. Cosecant is r over y. So we draw our angle first. Now, to come to here, it's 180, and then we need to go 60 more to get 240 degrees. Okay, so we go 180 plus 60 to get 240, tie it back. And this is a 60-degree angle. That means this one's 30. Across from the 30 is 1. Hypotenuse is 2. Across from the 60 is radical 3. So radical 3, 1, 2 are always the side measures of a 30, 60, 90 triangle. And remember that some of them are negative. So you have a negative 1, a negative radical 3, and then a 2. So cosecant is r over y. So r is 2. Y is negative radical 3. And then this one needs to be rationalized. So you're going to multiply by negative radical 3. And that makes negative, oh, sorry, you don't have to multiply by negative. Just multiply by negative, by radical 3. So your answer is negative 2 radical 3 over 3. Okay. Next one, sine negative 240. So we're going to go negative 180 plus another 60. That's a 60-degree angle. Drop, cross from the 60 is radical 3, 2, and negative 1. So remember, negative means you're going clockwise, and the position makes a 60-degree reference angle, and therefore 30, 60, 90 reference triangle. And the sine is y over r, which is radical 3 over 2. Okay. Next one, cosine negative pi over 4. That's a 45-degree angle if you change into radians. So that's right there because we go down 1/4 to pi. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are 4 dots to pi, and we or traversed 1, which is 45, right? Draw your reference angle. And note that it's a 45, 45, 90 triangle, so 1, 1, radical 2, and this one's negative. So make sure you get your negatives in. And then our cosine is x over r. So x is 1, r is radical 2. Rationalize, and you get radical 2 over 2. Okay. Secant is reciprocal to cosine. Cosine is x over r, so r over x. Now we're breaking pi up into thirds. 1, 2, 3. So 3 pi over 3 is pi. We want to traverse 2, and that's traversing 2. So if we've gone 2 pi over 3, this is 3 pi over 3 to here. So that's a pi over 3, which is 60-degree angle. So here's our 30. Across from the 30 is 1, 2, and then I better put in a different color, radical 3. Kind of doing Christmas colors today, aren't I? And that is going to be a negative 1 because it's an x and we're moving backwards. So we have negative 1, radical 3, and 2. Secant is r over x, so r is 2, x is negative 1, so negative 2. All right, cotangent pi over 6. That means 1/6 of the way to pi, and that makes a 30-degree angle. Cross from the 30 is 1, radical 3, 2. None of those in the first quadrant are negative, so we're all signs are correct. And our cotangent is x over y, so radical 3 over 1, which is radical 3. All right, there you go. Okay, go through the review. Make sure you know how to do that. I'll post the test tomorrow. Good luck with that, and have a great day.